Welcome to another episode of Sidekick TV. Today we're discussing again the proposed changes to the Holidays Act and how that's going to affect small business owners in New Zealand and how they pay their staff. I'm joined by Sam, who's Head of Partnerships with Smartly, and Smartly is, I believe, the biggest payroll provider in New Zealand, isn't it?
We sure are.
Yeah.
Biggest intermediary in New Zealand, doing a long time, 20 years in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely leading the way, we believe.
Excellent. So you're in good hands here, and so Sam's been a bit of an expert on this area as well. So Sam, can you please just give us a bit of an update? Like, there's already been a lot of work on this, hasn't there? Where are we at now?
Different governments have different goes at this, right? So there is just a real problem currently with the Holidays Act. It's a nightmare for small business, right? There's a lot to consider. And the way we calculate it, the way we use it, not all business owners know the difference between calculating their annual leave in weeks and then the sick leave, it's in days. What's the difference? How do I do that in the software? You see a lot of avoidable employment law rulings going against small business, and they're not doing bad things. The calculation's just wrong.
Yeah.
The law's so hard. It's going against us in small business, right?
Yeah. I understand it was set in like 2003, wasn't it? And people have been getting it wrong for 22 years, but trying to get it right.
Yep, trying. Nobody's trying to do the wrong thing. It's just complex to get this stuff right. You need to record how many days a week you're working. There's been some big gaps for big wins, I guess, if you're a part-timer. Currently, you get 10 days of sick leave. If you have 1 day a week, you get 10 weeks leave. That's tough to mobilise. That's 20% as an employer that you're not getting the benefit of having that employer, right? So you're paying money, you're losing 20% of your productivity just on the sick leave.
Yeah.
They get holiday pay as well.
Yeah.
They get 4 weeks of annual leave. So it's really tough to then translate that into something that works commercially for a business. And just to do the right thing.
Yeah. And so we said, like leave being in hours, that is essentially that's what it means, is it? Like these different calculations. How do you explain to a small business owner what it looks like?
And so there's probably 2 units of measure that we're using currently for the Holidays Act. We're using leave. Annual leave gets calculated in weeks. So an employer gets 4 weeks of leave if they work 40 hours a week. That's 160 hours. Leave, I'm going to embarrass myself with the rest of my math. If they work 10 hours a week, they get 40 hours. And then when it comes to sick leave, in particular, they get 10 days. It's not 8 hours of 10 days. It's actually 10 whole days. So technically, you can't take a half day sick leave. We're all doing it. We're all popping off 2 hours early to go to the doctors. Yeah. It's not practically lining up with what businesses are doing, and there's a bit of risk. Yeah. Because if you're not complying with the Holidays Act, you're generally underpaying staff, and that's where you find yourself open for employment law proceedings. You're not trying to do the wrong thing. Yeah. The Holidays Act just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you can't take half a day off.
And I know I sympathise and empathise a lot with a lot of small business owners around this. Everything HR pretty much, and now payroll's part of it. It's the area of running a business where you can get 99% right and still crucified on the 1%. So.
Yeah, and so having it all, so annual leave will be calculated in hours, and so will sick leave. There's probably other leave out there like family violence leave, there's bereavement leave, parental leave, sick leave, all of that stuff is now calculated into 1 unit of measure, it's hours.
Yeah.
So I guess...
Providing this all goes through.
The other big elephant in the room, right? There's been two attempts at this through the previous government. The current government tried to bring in some reform that was already in place. So there was a bit of work to simplify it. They decided that it was easier to just start again. And so the ability to scrap all of that stuff, no more leave in weeks, no more sick leave in days, it's all in hours, simplifies the calculation method. Software can give it a good go, and so can mere mortals that are business owners just trying to do the right thing for their employees, right?
Yeah.
So there's winners and losers with that, I guess.
Who do you think the winners and losers are going to be mostly?
Yeah, there's probably there's small wins for business owners that need casuals or part-times. Like I said, I've been talking to some business owners that are now more open to the thought of getting in some part-times and some casuals, because previously they knew that they were up for 20-25% of that cost to the business without getting anywhere near
output.
the output. Yeah, no output, but just 25% more cost. And so now they can hire a casual and they only get X amount of hours. So they mitigate the money that they're paying. So they're going to take more of a gamble on.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
so that could create more opportunity, more roles.
Yes. Yep. More opportunity for you, less exposure to the business cost, I guess. Another small win for, I guess, employees, or probably both parties, actually. And so employees and employers win with this, because sick leave and annual leave will now accrue from day one.
Right.
Legally or technically, it accrued 6 months after employment for sick leave, and then a year after employment for annual leave. It was pretty complex.
Yeah.
So you'd get your pay slip and you wouldn't know how much leave you'd have, but as an employer, you had to pay it.
Yeah.
If the person left the business halfway through that first year, they had to pay it.
Yeah.
And so clarity along the whole thing, having an idea of your balance from day one, just wins from everybody. It creates less confusion.
Perfect. Yeah.
Crystal clear what your cost is as a business owner.
So that's a big win for the employee in that scenario as well, because they actually understand where they are.
Yep.
And so at the minute, this is a bill in proposal. I know it's very easy to get caught up in the headlines with this kind of thing and just and panic a bit as a business owner, going, "Oh, what have I got to do?" Sam, what would you recommend? What do people do now?
Currently, there's no need to act on any of this, right? So there's no burning bridge today, unless you already have some problems in that world. Unless you're not understanding the leave-in weeks correctly today, there's probably action to be taken. But smartly, currently, we're not building in anything into the software because there's still a process to go through. So it's been proposed that it would be implemented from 2 years, but it's still got to be passed as a bill. And that bill could, the timeline could stagger potentially an election, which could be potentially another government, and we all know how these things can play out.
Because even as it's proposed right now, if it went to plan, it's going to actually happen after the election.
Correct. Yep.
And we know that good ideas on both sides can just get kiboshed. So.
Yes. And so when I talked about, like, if you have problems currently with this stuff, maybe the leave-in weeks is a problem. Something that might be unrealised problem for a lot of people is there's a contracted hours amount inside the employment agreement. And that's what some of the new calculations will be based on. Is that reflected currently in your software? Do you have that in the agreements themselves? Yeah. So there's a little bit of tidy up. You could get ahead of the curve and just align the employment agreement with your payroll calculator, your payroll software, that sort of thing. Because one of the losers that we hadn't quite covered yet was probably the employee that works lots of hours in 1 week and then takes the next week off. Business owners will know this. They will feel this, right? So if you had an employee that had worked 40 hours a week, and then last week they worked 6 days, 10-hour days sort of thing, and they did 60 hours, the next week they go on leave, that's going to cost you more as a business.
Yeah.
Because their average weekly earnings is much higher.
Yes. And that's a thing that actually, that's been around for 22 years and not many people really know it. Hey, so people that
lots of people know how to use that system. I'll be honest. Right, okay. I've seen a lot of people taking leave after a big week. ACC is probably another common example of it. You see a fair bit of that.
Yeah.
And so that can go against the employer because you're paying out on what was like 1 month of an exceptionally high work rate, because it could just be the season.
Yeah.
And then you take the week off after that and you're on that same rate effectively for that week. And similarly, if you have commission-based roles, If you get a good commission amount or decent bonus and it's part of your discretionary income, that was going to bump up your annual leave rate. And so what's going to happen in the new proposal is that any hour worked over and above your contracted hours, which might need a bit of tidy up, people may not be reflecting that in their software right now, will be paid out at 12.5%.
Right.
So that minimum, they would have to pay that out at 12.5%, and then they will get paid at the hourly contracted rate.
Right, okay, so it won't be creating a future liability. It'll just be dealt with.
It'll just be dealt with right then and there in the first pay. So that could be perceived as a small loss for the employees that were using that, understood that system. There's always going to be a balance, and that has been the challenge from previous attempts at this Holidays Act reform. Someone was going to win and someone was going to lose, and we have to mitigate that to the best of our ability as a country. And it's a good balance. Like, whilst it might be extra cost on the day,
it's like we're continuing with a known broken system because we don't want to upset some people. Yeah.
And so what you might see is people start factoring that in. Like, if you're costing things out, maybe. I mean, you're actually the experts, not me. But I would anticipate people start to factor in that 12.5% somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Because could be a risk of that going up,
And that's actually a few conversations I've had around this, is that where the law changes on one side, there's probably going to be small business owners that will actually make changes on their side, either to be a more attractive employer, to maybe keep some benefits there that might be a bit hidden right now. So do you think one key thing that people should be doing is just, this groundwork sounds like it's valuable anyway. I mean, aligning your contracts with your payroll system seems like a good idea. Do you think any, maybe a bit of a review, have you made any mistakes so far? Doing a bit of an audit on what you've done so far?
Yeah, it's what we see in Smartly when people are joining us who haven't done that review in the past, when they change payroll software, that's when the review happens.
Yeah.
And it's all the most common traps that we see are not reflecting how many days are worked in that week in the software that you're on currently, and then the calculations go wrong from there.
Yeah.
You might see that in an overpayment in a termination pay. So someone may leave the business and the software is calculating a much higher rate because they were just being paid more for what looked like 5 days, but they might have been working 6 days.
Yeah.
Very, very common that happens. We see that a lot. So one thing to do would be to review your system. Are you adding in how many days are worked each pay that you're doing? Yeah, it's baked into Smartly, but if you're not using Smartly, there could be the potential for your software to be calculating that wrong.
Yeah.
You may have been overpaying in terminations pay. You could be underpaying in holiday pay. There's a trade-off there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. They're the two common things we see.
What's the number one thing you'd recommend a small business owner to do now?
Yeah, the best thing you can do, whether the new act comes in or not, is make sure contracted hours, so what's in the employee agreement, is reflected inside the payroll software that you're using. Whether the legislation changes or not, that's going to set you up for success.
We want clients to have trust in systems that they're using, but it shouldn't be blind trust. Do get that checked out. So cool, excellent. Well, look, Sam, thank you so much, and I hope for you guys watching, this has answered a number of questions you may have had. I realise it's probably posed a few more that you may not have, but just reach out and speak to the experts. Obviously Sidekick's got a team of people we can start the conversation with, but very often with this kind of thing, we want to connect you with the experts, whether that be HR or payroll or whoever. So we'll put Sam's details in where you're watching this video or listening to it. Thank you very much, everyone. Cheers. Thanks, Sam. Tell me about the common issue that's happened with maternity pay.
Maternity leave is a good example of something that's tidied up with the proposed Holidays Act reform. So currently, if you were to return from maternity leave, there is a technicality, I guess, where your annual leave could be paid out based on what you've earned over the last 12 months. That might not be what a normal 12 months is. Oftentimes it's less than what you would normally be paid if you were worked. that gets tidied up with this. So as soon as you return to work, it's back to your hourly rate effectively.
Great.
Yeah, tidied up. There's a bit of a disadvantage that has been for returning home. Yeah.
Great. There's another change that's happening as well, isn't there, around the weeks versus 25%? What's that proposal?
Yeah, so if let's say you work 10 years and you banked up every single holiday you've ever had, and it's coming close to when you want to retire maybe, or you want to just take some extra funds, you're legally allowed to request 1 week currently. Under the new proposal, you'll be able to request 25%. So that could be a lot more, it could be a lot less, but that will at least mitigate how much leave can be requested. And there's still a process as to whether or not the business owner wants to give them that much leave. But cashing up leave becomes a bit more clearer.
Yeah, awesome.